Hi everyone, Dave Bradshaw here, alongside RevPro owner and booger Andy Quildan. We have just come off air live in Coventry, and as always, so much to talk about. But I want to focus, first of all, if we can, on two big announcements that have real consequences for this coming Sunday when we're back at Porchester Hall for Live in London 108. First of all, our main event tonight, what a match it was between JJ Gale and one called Manders. Manders eventually gutting out a victory over the heart and soul of RevPro. But after the match, as well as a very nasty beat down by Cowboy Way on Gale, Manders grabbing a microphone and gave one name for who he wants next. That name was Eddie Kingston, who we already know is going to be with us in London this coming Sunday. You're the matchmaker. Eddie Kingston, one called Manders, that take your fancy?
Yes, it does, yeah. I would very much like to see that professional wrestling match, so let's make it happen.
I was hoping you'd say that.
This Sunday at the Porchester Hall. It's crazy, isn't it? Because, Eddie Kingston won't back down from any man. We've seen him. I just remember the crazy match he had last time he was here in RevPro against LA Park. Like, that was a hell of a crazy match, and I think we're going to get more of the same. This coming Sunday, live from the Porchester Hall, one called Manders versus Eddie Kingston. Let's effing go. I don't swear when the camera's on.
Nice. Now, the other member of Cowboy Way was also in action tonight. Thomas Shire taking on the undisputed British heavyweight champion, Jay Joshua, in a non-title bout. Jay Joshua ultimately getting the win. Another great match that was. And much like Manders, Jay Joshua, after his match, also grabbing the microphone to address the demands of one of our former champions, Michael Oku, for another shot at the gold. We know that Oku is desperate to get himself into that main event and face Conor Mills at Wembley Arena on August 29th, the 14-year anniversary. It sounds like Oku's going to get his wish, because Jay Joshua saying, you know what, all you have to do was ask. We'll have Oku versus Joshua this coming Sunday at Porchester Hall. I want to ask you again, first of all, whether that's going to happen. And secondly, last week when we were on the wrap up here, you said immediately after we spoke, you were going to go and talk to Michael Oku. We haven't heard anything, as far as I'm aware, about the outcome of that conversation. So what's the whole deal with the Michael Oku, Jay Joshua situation?
Well, yeah, I did go to speak to Michael Oku after we spoke, and we had a long conversation. It was filmed. And I've decided not to release the contents of that conversation because I feel like it's not the Michael Oku that I know. And look, maybe you'll see bits of it here and there, but to me, like I say, it wasn't the Michael Oku I know, and it was a difficult conversation. And I feel that, look, the upshot of it is, I think that he had a reason for everything. Everything that we've seen that's happened that we say is uncharacteristic of him, he's got a reason for. Whether he's gone too far in each of those actions is very subjective, but the one thing that I felt for sure is he's not in the right headspace at the moment. But look, after speaking to him, I did agree that he does deserve another shot at the undisputed British heavyweight championship. You just look at the laundry list of evidence. You look at the fact that look, there was questionable circumstances, no doubt, in the conclusion of that Jay Joshua Michael Oku match at the Porchester Hall, with Conor Mills playing that music. Michael Oku thinking he won the match. He hadn't. The match had to continue, and Michael Oku was subsequently pinned by Jay Joshua. So there's a big question mark over that contest, to say the least. You look at the Revolution Rumble, he did eliminate Jay Joshua. Yes, he used a steel chair, but in that environment, it's legal. He won that unsanctioned match against Conor Mills.
Mm-hmm.
In the tournament, you've got to ask the question: if it wasn't for Conor Mills' interference again, would he have made it through the Revolution Road? These are all if, buts, and maybes, by the way.
Yeah,
but I think the biggest piece of kind of evidence above all of that is the fact that he did pin Jay Joshua last week in Morecambe. So yes, he will get his undisputed British heavyweight championship match. And like you say, Jay Joshua made that process a lot easier. He named his time. He named his place. Next Sunday, Porchester Hall.
I'm not trying to stir trouble. Do you think for Jay Joshua that he might be so willing to try and kind of get Michael Oku out of the way, so to speak, right now, for that very reason that you just said, that he thinks Michael Oku's not in the headspace to challenge for the title. So why not catch him while he's at his weakest?
Well, look, that could be a reason for sure, but like he's also seems to be at his most dangerous. So I would say you could speculate that's a reason, but I would say to think about Jay Joshua like that goes against everything we know about Jay Joshua. So I genuinely believe that Jay Joshua wants to erase any question marks. He has been a fighting champion since day one of winning that undisputed British heavyweight championship. He defended that championship straight off the bat. Was it 2 weeks after, after winning that championship? He defended it straight away. He's been proving naysayers wrong, and he's been doing it week in, week out. And I think that he wants more than anything to remove the question mark or remove the shadow that Michael Oku has over his reign, because Michael Oku seems to think that it's his right to be called undisputed British heavyweight champion. And don't get me wrong, Michael Oku has done a lot for this company, but it's no one's right to be called British heavyweight champion. That's something you have to earn in the ring. So, come the close of play next week, we'll be hearing and still or and new. And either way, we will know the man who wins that contest has earned their spot in that match. And Jay Joshua made it very clear. He wants no questions. He wants no Conor Mills at ringside. And that's interesting in and of itself as well, because we know we spoke about the sense of the shadow, of Michael Oku over this situation, but there's a looming shadow of Conor Mills, because we know on August 29th, live from the Ovo Arena, Wembley, Conor Mills will challenge whomever the undisputed British heavyweight champion is come that day. And listen, there's a lot of wrestling to come between now and Wembley, so we're not saying whoever wins the match next week will be the person to be in that main event, but we're saying it gives us a better idea, and I think that Jay Joshua would love nothing more than to get rid of Michael Oku and focus on Conor Mills, focus on his tag team partner, focus on a man who he would deem to be his best friend. And it's quite ironic, isn't it? Because that was a starting point with Michael Oku and Conor Mills.
Well, it's going to be a hell of a match next week. Portchester Hall is shaping up to be one hell of a night in Portchester Hall indeed for Live in London 108. Now, as you said, there's a lot of wrestling to come between now and Wembley at the end of August. One of those big nights of wrestling is going to be July 18th when we make our debut in Bradford for Summer Sizzler. And a big piece of news coming out of tonight's show about that event as well, because we saw in six-man tag team action here tonight, the Young Guns teaming with Tom Thelwell to take on Slater Dojo, Liam Slater, Leon Slater, and HMD. Slater Dojo got the better of the Young Guns again, just as they did when they beat them for the titles at the Revolution Rumble. This time, though, Ethan Allen had an answer. He grabbed the microphone, grabbed the remaining Trios Grand Prix trophy, and said, we're going to cash this in. We're going to do it in Slater Dojo territory in Bradford on July 18th, Summer Sizzler. 2 out of 3 falls between Slater Dojo and the Young Guns for those undisputed British Tag Team Championships. What's your reaction?
Well, first of all, it's going to be a hell of a match because, the 2 interactions over the past 3 weeks have been absolutely phenomenal. That tag match at Revolution Rumble will forever live in my mind. But then tonight here in Coventry, what an exceptional 6-man tag that was. Had HMD and Tom Thelwell into the equation. And it was the ingredients for a great professional wrestling match. Now, listen, Ethan Allen has stated time and time again, not good enough. They can't handle losing. They don't take to it well. And between now and July 18th, all the Young Guns are going to be doing is training and working with one goal in mind, and that's to defeat Slater Dojo. That's to get back there, because they believe it's theirs, to get back their undisputed British Tag Team Championships and to take those championships into the biggest British tag team match or biggest tag team match in independent wrestling history. August 29th, Ovo Arena, Wembley.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the undisputed British Cruiserweight title, because we saw the new champion, Leighton Buzzard, in action tonight. First time we've seen him since he won the title at Doncaster. It was a non-title match tonight against Maverick Mayhew, of course, a CPF partner of Joe Lando, the man who Buzzard defeated for the title. Buzzard with another win, choking out Maverick Mayhew, just as he did to Lando a fortnight ago. It's been a very different Leighton Buzzard, as we talked about in depth tonight. I'm not going to say any more on that, but what I do want to say is that Leighton Buzzard making another statement of his current dominance over that cruiserweight division as we are headed into June, and in particular headed into, as you said on commentary today, British J-Cup season. June 27th, we're going to be at the Gordon Craig Theatre in Stevenage for this year's British J-Cup. Winner of that tournament will get themselves a shot at whoever is the cruiserweight champion come Wembley Arena on August 29th. If you're Leighton Buzzard, are you nervous watching the British J-Cup later in June, or are you thinking, you know what, I am invincible at this point?
Probably the latter, because Leighton Buzzard has an ego on him. He's got a very big confidence. And I think he feels he can defeat any person in the cruiserweight division. I think he'll look at that British J Cup as an opportunity to scout his opposition in different environments against different styles of opponents. He's a very clever wrestler. We saw him, when he was guiding Cameron Kai. You saw the difference that Leighton Buzzard can make in terms of strategy in a professional wrestling contest. So I think you underestimate him at your peril. I think it's a very exciting time in the cruiserweight division, but I think Leighton Buzzard needs to be thinking about the former champion, Joe Lando, before he starts looking ahead to, the British J Cup, because Joe Lando wants a rematch after the conclusion. The way that match ended, he deserves a rematch, and we're going to be working very hard to sign that contest, and we're going to get it across the line at the earliest possible opportunity, because I believe Joe Lando deserves another chance of that cruiserweight championship, especially given the manner in which he defended that championship leading to that point at the Revolution Rumble.
So we have a date for that yet, or is that
we're figuring it out?
Yeah.
So look, it could be as soon as next week. It could be it could be in Southampton. It could be we've got a lot again. Like this is one of the beauties of professional wrestling is in Revolution Pro Wrestling right now is just a depth in talent is so there, but we can have a card full of main events up and down the card, and we can serve so many different masters. And I feel that it's important that we look at it and we say, look, we put on a championship match. We've got a 60-minute time limit. We know we've got an undisputed British heavyweight championship match next week. Can we fit in a cruiserweight championship match as well? We got to look at it, see how Joe Lando's doing. Does he want the match next week? I need to speak to people, right? And I think that this is it. We've been go. But we will get it figured out. And that's what I feel like Leighton Buzzard's immediate concern should be Joe Lando.
Now let's look at some of the other action we saw tonight. It was clear from the way the card was designed that I think you were hoping that maybe some of the outstanding issues and rivalries that we've got going here in RevPro might have been settled. And I think it maybe worked to varying degrees with some of the matches we had. So let's go through some of those ongoing rivalries. First of all, Kanji and Rio. That's got really heated really quickly. These two going one-on-one for the second time in recent months here in Coventry. Again, the hope was that this would maybe settle things between the two, but as we said at the conclusion of that match, which this time Kanji won, didn't really go there.
Well, I think as the contest was going, it became very apparent to both of us watching, due to the physicality at this contest, there was no turning back, was there? No. Look, there was a real sense of sportsmanship about the contest they had at Epic Encounter in Cardiff, but that wasn't there tonight. There was and look, we've discussed and we can go on for days about the reasons why this has happened, but the reality of the situation, as I alluded to in commentary, is when you're top of class, when you're the best in the game, you're both jockeying for a number one position, which ironically isn't held by either of those women at the moment. It's held by Alexis Falcon, who I said is going to be watching this and laughing.
She's a real winner tonight, I think, from how they tore each other apart.
Absolutely. And look, Kanji won the match, but again, it was almost a mirror image of what happened at Epic Encounter, wasn't it? Where Rio this time got the armbar, Kanji rolled her up, but Rio
it was a mirror image, except that, as we said, we thought when it was Kanji, it did seem like it was accidental. I don't think that was accidental from Rio.
It definitely wasn't accidental from Rio, and I can see Rio's side of things where she says that what happened with Kanji wasn't accidental because she feels that the headspace that Kanji was in, we've seen Kanji. Because look, what we can say it was uncharacteristic of Kanji. We can say that without a shadow of a doubt of what happened in Epic Encounter. But there are questions, and like Rio would use the evidence of the way Kanji has been behaving with this rivalry that she had with Alexis Falcon. The way Alexis Falcon was able to get in her head. The way Kanji was fighting on pure emotion. Whereas before, obviously she fought with her heart, but a lot of it was with her head as well. And Alexis Falcon just ripped that entirely out the window. And Kanji's spoken to me about, how she's just lost it with Alexis. And Rio's saying that's in you. That beast is in you. And I don't believe it. And Rio is going to say that she's done nothing that she said she wouldn't do. She said that next time I see you, when my arm's better, next time I see you, I'm going to take your head off.
Mhm.
So why would she team with Kanji in the Revolution Rumble?
Yeah.
Right? There's no room for sentiment.
No. But clearly we were hoping, I think, that putting them in the ring against each other tonight might have gone some way towards fixing
and
those issues.
It hasn't.
So from your point of view, it's kind of back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
What do you do now?
Stick him in the ring again and see what happens, I guess. I don't.
All right, we'll leave that one with you.
Yeah.
Clearly, you're going to need time to think about what to do next on that one. Let's talk about Sky Smith.
I will say both Kanji and Rio will be at Portchester Hall next Sunday.
Okay, so that's an interesting state of affairs in any case, regardless of what matches they're put in. The fact they're under the same roof could be a pretty volatile situation. Sky Smithson and Amira Blair, another match that we hoped was hetero rivalry. And maybe I'm being naive, but I wonder whether maybe we got a little bit more closure.
It felt, I think closure is a good term. It felt like closure, didn't it? And I think Sky Smithson might have realised she can't keep coming back because every action is going to have a reaction. And Amira's reaction tonight was the biggest of them all. So a big victory from Amira, a statement afterwards from her on the microphone. She's had a lot of doubters for a long time. But let me tell you something. Let me tell you a story about Amira. Look, so Amira came into Revolution Pro Wrestling post-pandemic, and she was a last-minute replacement for the Queen of the Ring tournament it would have been 2021, I guess. Maybe 22. I think I wanted to say 21 because but like whenever it was, the COVID precautions were still in place. In terms of like international travel and stuff. And she took the place of an international wrestler who, because of something to do with COVID restrictions, was unable to get to the UK for the show. I'd never met her. I'd never heard from her before. She was coming down to the venue in order to watch the show, in order to introduce herself to me, in order to introduce herself to some of the other female wrestlers plying their trade in the UK. She turns up at the venue. We literally had no one. It was a very late notice, so the person was due to fly in that day. And the first show was an afternoon show, and we threw her in at the deep end. And she didn't do very well. I think she would be the first to admit that, but she was thrown in at the deep end. It was one of her, I didn't know it at the time. I just needed bodies, but it was, and then obviously when someone says, "Oh, if you got your gear, can you work?" You're not going to turn around and say no, right? And she wasn't at the level to compete in Revolution Pro Wrestling. And since that point, I have never seen someone dedicate so much to become a professional wrestler. And she has put the work in, week out. She's trained at our Portsmouth School of Wrestling. She's trained at our London School of Wrestling. She's trained around the country at other training schools. Every single time she's at ringside with Michael Oku, she's not just using it as a to manage Mike and push him to greater heights and whatever. She uses it as a learning experience because she's got a front row seat to watch some of the best in the world wrestle. She's proven her heart time and time again when she stood by Michael Oku's side. Tonight was her opportunity to stand on her own 2 feet. But one thing that's been consistent is that people have doubted her. I doubted her on that first day. And I was like, I don't think we're going to see her again. But instead, we saw more of her and more of her and more of her and more of her. And you've seen it. You've seen it against Alexis Falcon. You've seen it against Sky Smithson. She's stood up, she's been counted, and she's proven that she belongs. And I think that she has earned, but she's earned the right to say the things that she said at the end of that contest.
Yeah, and I think that was a real emotional release for her as well, because look, Amira's a very likable person. You've obviously got a lot of time for her. We all do. And I think to see, of all the many issues that are arising from this change that we're seeing in Michael Oku, the effect it's having on Amira, I think, is one of the most difficult to watch. And so for her to maybe get a little moment's reprieve with Michael not here today, and for her to be able to get that win over Sky.
And look, I thought that was so important as well, because even if you think back to that contest where Alexis Falcon, where she defeated Alexis Falcon, and it was right here actually in Coventry as well, so maybe a lucky venue for her. But Michael came out at the end, and again, it was Amira's moment, but they shared that moment, and that was a lovely moment because we've seen Amira share so many of Michael's moments. So it was nice to see Michael share one of Amira's moments. But again, when you've then got people like Sky Smithson saying the things they're saying, it adds those questions. And I feel that tonight, all those questions were answered. And like you said, it felt like we'd reached almost a conclusion there, didn't it? And I hope that Sky Smithson realizes this, because, like I say, I don't know how much further she can push it.
Hopefully. It's been a rough 5 months for Amira having to have that Sky Smithson issue going on, so we'll see how that goes. The last of these ongoing rivalries I want to talk about is a short-lived one, but it's got pretty heated pretty quickly, which is between Charles Samuels and man like Doris. I mean, it only started last week in Morecambe, but it got very heated last week. It began again very heated today. Samuels coming to the ring before he was even introduced to continue the fight, and the way in which Samuels won, which was clearly, he cheated.
It was illegal in a number of ways.
In at least 2 different ways. If the pin was illegal, Doris wasn't having any of it, continued the fight afterwards. Another situation there, it feels like, where despite the best efforts to try and resolve stuff between them, there's still plenty unresolved.
Look, knowing the type of personality that Shah is and learning the type of personality that Doris is, I didn't think for a second that this would be the quote unquote end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Both are two men with a lot of credentials, and Charles Samuels is very much, you can call him a part of the old guard if you want, and then Doris is part of the new generation of wrestler. So from that standpoint alone, there's going to be butting of heads.
Mm-hmm.
But and I think that both men want to be recognized as, again, top in class. And it's that thing again, isn't it, when the best wrestlers in the world competing with one another, this type of thing's going to happen. And I believe that with Shah and Doris are very, very evenly matched.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, there are so many questions. I think this is very different to that Sky Smithson and Amira rivalry, because in Sky's head, she was levels above Amira.
Yeah.
There was Amira having to prove. But in this instance, I think both men know they're each other's equals. Both men want to get the upper hand on each other. And look, maybe it was Charles Samuels who kind of ignited that fire in Doris, because it's certainly another side of Doris that we've not seen in RevPro before. But I think it's a welcome side. I think that it's good to see Doris with focus. I think it's good to see Doris with something to aim for. Be that Charles Samuels, be that the Undisputed British Heavyweight Championship. But look, I'm here for it, and I'm interested to see what happens next between Charles Samuels and man like Doris.
Last thing I want to talk about in terms of the action we saw tonight is, because this is something we've seen twice in 3 weeks now, top tier, attacking a CPF member, in this case Maverick Mayhew, for the, as I say, second time in 3 weeks. They got a win earlier in the night against the contenders, but this unprovoked attacking of CPF's got to stop. I'm just wondering what you're planning on doing.
I don't know. Look, they came over and tried to speak to me at the end of the show. But all they were interested in is getting some more dates, getting some more matches. And I was interested in finding out what's going on between you two and CPF.
Yeah.
Leave them alone, And I feel like we're kind of like, they became very defensive in that matter. So I don't know what's going on between them. What can I do to stop it? I don't know. Do we make them fight? Probably.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but like, is it, what a weird world we live in. Like, I was always taught, like, growing up, we try conflict resolution via talking, but
we have our own style of conflict resolution here.
Conflict resolution by getting people to fight, and the thing is, sometimes it works.
Mm-hmm.
So often we've seen it backfire, and it just escalate even further. So, look, we'll see, but like, I can see a collision course between top tier and CPF for sure. And I think, look, shout out to contenders Isaac Murray and Elvin Narayan. They put up a hell of a showing against top tier, continuing to improve, continue to evolve, and top tier, I believe, are coming into their own as a top tier team. No pun intended, but I genuinely feel that top tier are, you know, you're gonna have like the likes of the Young Guns and the Slater Dojo start to be looking over their shoulders at top tier, and obviously CPF having to look over their shoulders because top tier are attacking from behind, you know. So I think the top tier are a good team.
It's such a moment of opportunity, it feels like, in RevPro for so many new talents to come through with all the big events we've got coming up. We talked about a few of them here. As I said, the British J Cup, June 27th. We talked about Summer Sizzler, July 18th. It's all heading towards Wembley, August 29th. But for you, what are some of the highlights as we enter? And obviously, it's going to be June in a matter of hours as we enter the summer season here. What are the things you're most looking forward to, other than Wembley, of course, in our upcoming?
Look, I'm excited about everything. Like, I genuinely, I'm not. I know people get upset when I say like everything matters, when I say everything's a consequence, but like I genuinely believe it, because there's always something. Every single show that we kind of put on, there's always something you walk away from that going, wow, you know. And like, be it tonight, we've not even touched upon that. Oh, we did at the start, didn't we? The in terms of like Manders laying down the challenge for JJ Gale, but that match between Manders and JJ Gale, what a war!
Mm-hmm.
What a war! And Kanji and Rio, what a contest! You know, look, there's so much. Amira and Sky, what a spectacle!
6-man tag,
right?
unbelievable.
The 6-man tag, unbelievable,
mm-hmm.
right? So I always feel like there's always something for everyone, and that's what we try to do at RevPro. So I don't want to be that guy who's like, you need to see this, you need to see that, because I genuinely believe that actions speak louder than words. And I think we do it. What I think the one thing I want to try and emphasize more than anything is the consistency that we deliver, because I don't think there's anyone that's delivering at this level of consistency, and has been doing so for such a long time. So I think that's my key that I want to get across, really, just the consistency that we're doing this. As far as if you want some scoops or whatever have you, we're looking at So where we're coming now. So we've got the Porchester Hall next week.
Yep.
And then I think we've got a week off, haven't we?
First time in 6 or 7 weeks.
Yeah. It'd be nice to be back in London next week.
Yeah.
Going up the country
after the north for 4 weeks. Is this the north? 4 weeks in a row. Yeah, for sure.
I believe it's the north anyway. And then week off, and then we've got on the south coast we've got a contender show in Portsmouth on the 20th. On the 21st, we are then in Southampton.
Yep.
The following week, we're into a British J Cup. Then back to Porchester Hall the following week. And then maybe a week off, or do we not? I don't know. I don't know if we've got a week off or not, but we're going into Summer Sizzler from there. July 18th already, we know that 2-hour free falls match. And then July 25th, we're in Wolverhampton, and July 26th, we're back here in Coventry.
Oh wow! So we're having another West Midlands weekend.
We absolutely are.
We had that in March, didn't we? That 1-2 hit.
But what's exciting? So July 25th. So obviously we're at the hangar in Wolverhampton, and we haven't really announced anything about the show, apart from we're having a show. Obviously, we know we're coming back to the hangar in Wolverhampton October 17th for Fantastica Mania, 2 shows in one day. On July 25th, we're going to do the same. We're going to do 2 shows in one day, and you know, look, everyone's vying for all these different championships. And obviously the Undisputed British Women's Championship is very different. So we're going to have, so essentially we're going to have a rebrand of the Queen of the Ring. And we're going to have, the Women's Grand Prix is going to take place across 2 shows on Saturday, the 25th of July. So that's going to happen at the hangar in Wolverhampton. I think there's a 1 p.m. bell time and a 6 or 7 p.m. bell time, something like that. We'll have all the information out shortly, with tickets going on sale this coming Friday for the hangar. So with tickets for 1 week, we're going to have a joint show ticket available. And then after that, we'll bring out individual show tickets.
And is it just going to be a tournament? But how does this work?
It's going to be a one-night tournament, 8 women. One night. It's going to be representation from around the world. And the winner's going to become the #1 contender to the Undisputed British Women's Championship. So that's coming up on Saturday, July 25th. And then, like I say, the following day, you're going to see the fallout of it all right here in Coventry, July 26th. And then I think it's then I guess it's back to
We're probably back in London, aren't we?
back to Porchy Hall, and then and then we're just looking at Cardiff.
Yep.
For unfinished business, and then the big one in Wembley. So,
and then we'll have like 3 days off. Yeah, get ready for Porchester Hall the following week.
Hall the following week.
Wow!
And then we keep going. So that's what's coming. We've got. I said last week we've got a European show coming up as well. That's coming up in September. I can't tell you the details yet. I'll tell you the details very soon.
All right.
So maybe next week. So that's coming up. We've also got another European show we're finalising, which is going to happen in December.
Okay.
Which doesn't thrill me exactly because I like to go places with sunshine.
Can we go somewhere with like a nice like Christmas market or something?
Well, that might be nice. Yeah. I'll check in. I'll check in and see if I can do that. But that's what's in the works at the moment. Obviously, we're still looking to add shows in right here in the UK as well. And it's just, like I say, like, it's just, the whole thing is just a pleasure to be a part of this. And I'm genuinely so thrilled with this ride that we're currently on. This special time that we live in that we're going to look back at and think how lucky we've been, really. All we can do is keep pushing and pushing and pushing and hope that it resonates with the people. We can keep growing this one fan at a time, like we're growing this YouTube channel one subscriber at a time, and we're growing it slowly but surely. So just thank you everyone for being a part of the ride.
It's going to be one hell of a ride this coming Sunday. Porchester Hall, Eddie Kingston, one called Manders. It's going to be the Undisputed British Heavyweight Championship, as well as Michael Oku challenges Jay Joshua. Is there more?
And I also say I'm not going to give away any. I'm not going to give anything away, but all I'm saying is July 5th Porchester Hall show. You probably want to get your tickets for that early as well. I think we're probably tracking to be the biggest attendance we've had at Porchester Hall this coming Sunday. Potentially looking to be Live in London 100.
Okay.
If not the biggest one we've had, I think it will be the second biggest one we've had. And when I say Live in London, not just Porchester Hall, that includes obviously Cockpit, and we fast surpass the capacity of the Cockpit and the 229.
Mm-hmm.
So this will be the second biggest Live in London as we currently stand. We want to make it the biggest attended Live in London show, and then we're going to look to do even bigger in July. So yeah, we hope everyone can make it, because like I say, we're going all out on this road to Wembley, and it's an exciting time to be part of Revolution Pro Wrestling.
All right. Well, it does sound exciting indeed. We hope we will see you either in person at Porchester Hall or watching at RevPro on demand in the meantime. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.